Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to PDINA'. Hope you're doing well today. We have to get into this. There are some things coming out about this book, Endgame, and I strongly believe that in a speech that the Queen made a while back, she has debunked everything that this man, Omid, is trying to say about the monarchy. She has given us some clues in her speeches, and we're getting ready to talk about it. Let's get into it. All right, so we all know that this book, Endgame, is coming out with Omid, and I believe that the Queen is able to cryptically put information out there in her speeches, because nothing that the Queen says is just going to be thrown in to fill time. Every single thing that is being spoken about in the speech that the Queen makes is going to have relevance, is going to have some substance about it to speak in a meaningful way about the monarchy, what they plan to do, how they feel. It's all very strategic. I mean, you think about the speech writers and the people that are involved in supporting the Queen and the communications around it. And what Omid is trying to do now, I believe wholeheartedly, can be debunked by a few things. Well, actually, one thing in particular that the Queen said before she passed away, excuse me. So let's just look briefly about what is going to be happening with Omid. So he has this new book coming out, and he calls the king says that the king is unpopular, and that Prince William is power hungry. Okay, wait a minute. Excuse me. First of all, unpopular? Really? The king? I mean, when I went to England, there were so many people. I couldn't even stay out there to find anything to look at. Like, all I could look at was the back of people's heads. There were so many people. Now, there were some protesters there, but all in all, when you look at anything that the king is going to do, there are so many people there. So many, but that tells you his popularity. Now, while I don't think he is as popular as the Queen was around since she was a young girl all the way up until in her 90s. She had so much time. People fell in love with the Queen through the many years. The king, he had a lot of things up and down going for him through his whole life before he even became king. But I believe since he's become king, he has not stepped wrong in anything that he has done around being a king. Now, I think personally, there are some things around him being a father to that man, Harry, over in Montecito. Okay, yeah, there are some things you just need to do for your children who are acting like they ain't got no sense. But all in all, this is a man that I believe is still very much popular by the evidence that we've seen. And also, you know, he is trying to juggle a lot of things with a rogue son. The Queen, well, she kind of had to deal with that because we know King Charles, when he was the prince at the time, did some things against the Queen. But, you know, all in all, nothing has been like what Harry has done. So, yeah, you know, Harry and Meghan are working really hard to bring the monarchy down. Let's just get that straight. They are trying to do things that are going to try to put the royal family out of commission. And I don't know why, because when you look at what the royal family is doing, what they are able to do, we can see that there's a lot of good meaning. And just most recently, we know that the king and queen have just come back from being in Kenya. They were over there visiting on October 31st until the 3rd of November, in which they were celebrating the warm relationship between the two countries and the strong and dynamic partnership that they continue to forge. That in itself is so much meaning and good in the fact that they're going over to Kenya, doing the good work. Their itinerary was full of wonderful things. Just for example, they were going to be meeting and visiting with the Nairobi National Park to witness the vital, integral, the conservation work going on over there that has been undertaken by the Kenya Wildlife Service. And we know it's a very big part of their tourism over there. So just the fact that they were over there trying to, you know, look at what the work is that's going into the wildlife over there to bring in more tourism, which does eventually help the people of that country. It says a lot. And also the queen herself, she was speaking with survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, learning how they are supported and sharing her own insights from working within that area. So I think the good work that is coming out of going over to Kenya as a part of the royal family, supporting those people, is such a good thing because you bring attention to it. You help to elevate the works. And most recently, I was watching a documentary about Queen Mary. We know she was the grandmother of Queen Elizabeth. And I didn't know that she played a big hand in ensuring the monarchy to not have to go down. We all know that King Edward VIII was like his issues with that one American. We needed the queen to come save the day, Queen Mary, and she did. She was one of the first royals to really bring the monarchy to the people, going to visit with every regular day people. She really played an integral part to ensuring these whole walkabouts and the being up close with the common man. And you have to appreciate the history, the longevity of that. How she worked so hard to preserve the monarchy, and now you have it happening again with another American. Okay, it happened with Wallace Simpson during the time of Queen Elizabeth, Queen Mary, and now it's happening again with the American woman and Prince Harry. Okay, so just the idea that you are trying to bring down the royal family shows you are so selfish. You don't even want to see the good work that the monarchy does for a lot of people in countries. You don't even want to see that move forward anymore. And I think that is very selfish of Omid, and also the two people that I believe have worked with him on this book, Endgame, Harry and Meghan. Oh, yes. I believe they worked with this man, no doubt. So this is what's going on. And I think in all the things that the queen has done, and the one thing that she said during this one speech, it really is a smackdown to this Endgame book coming out by Omid. His snoring is really loud. I know. I apologize about that. But sometimes this stuff, you're just so tired. He's so tired. He don't want to hear all this nonsense. It's nonsense. For him, it's nonsense. Okay, he don't care nothing about these two wackadoos, but we're going to talk about these wackadoos, okay? One of the other things that he wrote is he said that the king, is unpopular and that he's power hungry. And the only thing that I see about him saying Prince William is power hungry, it's like, excuse me, don't you know this man is inheriting the power that he's going to get from being in the monarchy? Duh. It's like he's going to be inheriting this. How is that him showing that he's power hungry? I mean, it's just nonsense all day long. Now, he's also saying about this book that it's an inside look at the royal family and the monarchy's fight for survival. And that right there is just saying you are just trying to show us that the royal family needs to be watching their back because these two over in California are going to try to bring down the royal family. That's all that is. Now, he goes on to say that in this book, he made claims that he is one of the few journalists writing about the British monarchy whose work is impartial and spin-free. What? Everybody knows you were busted, Omid. Busted. When Meghan had to come out before the High Court and say that, oh, yes, I forgot I did talk and work with my assistant about that book, Finding Freedom. Because all along, she had always denied it. She and Harry always denied it. And so we all know about the emails that came out that showed that they were actually working with the authors on the book, Finding Freedom. He states Queen Elizabeth II's death ruptured the already fractured foundations of the House of Windsor and dismantled the protective shield around it. Yes, there was a protective shield with the Queen being the head of the monarchy. But now that she has passed along, there are some little cracks and fractures within the monarchy, I believe, because of those two wackadoos over in California. The ones that you are cooperating with. That's why. So let's just get that straight. I bet he didn't write that in his book, did he? Oh, no, he didn't write that in his book. So he goes on to say, with an institution that is plagued by the antiquated ideas around race, class, and money, the monarchy and those who prop it up are now exposed and at odds with the rapidly modernizing world. I'm just going to give you some information that I don't know that we've all thought about, because we know when the speeches are written by the royal family, like I said, they are very intentional on everything that they say within these speeches. I believe that when the Queen said this in the speech that she gave for the Queen, for the passing of Princess Diana, she said something clearly debunking some things that are written that will be written in this book when it comes out. Okay, this is what she said.
No one who knew Diana will ever forget her. Millions of others who never met her, but felt they knew her, will remember her. I, for one, believe there are lessons to be drawn from her life and from the extraordinary and moving reaction to her death.
She is saying that a lot of things happened with Diana, a lot of first things that happened with her, and a lot of mistakes were made. Diana taught the royal family so much from her life. She taught the royal family that maybe having someone like a Diana be the best option for a marriage mate, like for the king, the prince at the time, was not a good idea. And I think she's saying very, like in a hidden kind of way, that mistakes were made. We learned lessons from Diana's life. And I believe they were going to be more open to those that would come to marry within the institution. And that is why anything that he writes, Omid, that is going to try to speak negatively about the royal family is clearly not going to be something you can take to be at face value, because it shows the royal family and those running it are open to learning. They're open to admitting somewhat, okay, mistakes have been made. What can we learn from this? How can we be better? They were definitely going to push back on any racism claims that may be put in this book. But at the same time, you know, the idea that Meghan was even able to marry into the royal family shows that there's no racism. So we can look very closely at what Meghan is trying to do. The idea that they are not even going to serialize this book in any UK publications, they're only going to do it in the US publications, shows me that Meghan Markle is definitely behind this book. She is trying to still bring down the House of Windsor with her nefarious ways and trying to get the Americans on their side. The end game needs to be coming very soon for Harry and Meghan's marriage, because let me tell you something. If there's going to be any end game, it's going to be the end game of that marriage and those marriage vows. That you can count on. And even the fact that Meghan married into the royal family and that Queen Elizabeth was there with Prince Philip and all the people that came to that wedding shows they were open to a new way of life and allowing someone who is divorced to marry into the royal family. Because we all know that the Queen's sister wanted to marry a divorced man, and she couldn't. But I think it is showing that we're willing to be better and to not be so closed off to a certain type of person to marry within this institution. And it is right at that moment when the Queen said that I knew she was talking about all the future things that were going to be happening within this royal family. There are going to be lessons to be learned from Diana's life. They were learning from the lessons, the life of Diana. So why in the world would Omid think that the monarchy is always going to be this institution that is only going to be one way? So you have to look at someone like Omid and see he's already discredited himself. You have to look at the fact that Meghan and Harry have worked with this man on his first book. They're certainly working with him on this book because they're trying to put Harry and Meghan in a good light. And this is what he said to really show that. This is why I thought that was so absurd. He says the book is described as a penetrating investigation into the current state of the British monarchy, an unpopular prince, a power-hungry heir to the throne, a queen willing to go to dangerous lengths to preserve her image, and a prince who forged to start a new life after being betrayed by his own family. Oh, who was that? Harry? You talking about Harry was the one who was betrayed by his own family? No, it was that wife that he married that betrayed the royal family, because this is a woman that came into the royal family on a false pretense. She didn't want to do any of the work of the royal family. She didn't want to do anything that was going to put the monarchy in the good light and put her in the background. Okay? Ain't that right, Otis? So we all get it. We all see what Omid is doing by his past behaviors, by Meghan and Harry's past behaviors, and by what the Queen said from that speech, from the passing of Diana. We can see the monarchy is about evolving and changing and learning. The idea now needs to be, is Omid willing to really be non-biased and write the truth? Talk about that in your book, Endgame. I bet he ain't going to talk about it. I bet he's not going to talk about that. And with that, we can see we are still learning from the life of Queen Elizabeth II.